Good morning. So this is this is going to be a very basic Reaper session. So I'm Sandra Jean-Pierre. I'm just going to present myself quickly before we start. I'm Sandra Jean-Pierre. I'm radio and audio producer. I'm one of the first fellow of the multi-track fellowship, and today I'm one of the hosts of this Rising Science session. So today we are going to see very basic podcast editing skills and stuff that you can do with Reaper. So at first we're going to see how to set up Reaper. And secondly, we're going to see how to edit a podcast with this software once we already have all of our sound files ready. So please note that I have prepared, and this must have been sent to you, I have prepared a folder with different audio files that you need to have ready for this session. So I have it ready here as well, and it's called Rise and Shine Festival. Voilà. So once you have this file ready, we are going to add all of the audio files into Reaper. But first, to do a podcast, we are going to set up Reaper to be sure that everything is ready for us to edit in the best way possible. So we're going to start by modifying how Reaper backs up your work. So we're going to go into preferences. Also, I wanted to note that after every single small chapter or small points that I'm going to talk about, there will be a Q&A short amount of time. So please keep your question for this moment and I will answer them at this moment, sorry. So preferences. So if you go into preferences and then you go into, you select project just here. So here you have the project settings of your podcast. So if you choose, and you need to verify that timestamp backup is checked. So you check this little box, and this is going to set up your Reaper for that every 15 minutes. You can choose a shorter amount of time if you don't really trust your computer. Every 15 minutes is going to automatically save what you are doing. So it means that if your computer crash, or if anything happens, or if Reaper crash, every 15 minutes Reaper will have saved what you've done. So I don't trust my computer, so I'm going to put every 5 minutes. So when not recording, and we are not recording at the moment. So, and then you just press apply and okay. So then a second thing that it would be useful to set up is some stuff with the automatic fading and fade out of Reaper. So for this, you go into track media items default. So here, I'm just going to allow some time so you can do it alongside me. So preferences, media item default. So here, if one of those two boxes is checked, please uncheck them. It's just because we are going to learn how to do fading and fade out. So if Reaper does it automatically, we won't be able to explore this possibility. So let's just uncheck them so that we can explore how to do it manually. And you also know where it is. So once you've done that, so you've disabled them, you press apply and okay, this is going to disappear again. A third thing that I would like to set up is how is the built-in audio. So you go on device, the built-in audio output. So you go on audio device, and here you need to make sure that the audio device is selected for built-in output. So there is default system devices and different stuff that are different audio software that you can use with Reaper. But the most important here, I'm not going to explain what is all of this, but the most important here is that you select built-in output so that the audio that Reaper is going to read is going to get out through your headphones or has more simply the speakers of your computer. So you press this and you press apply and OK. So once you've done this, you should be ready to start. One of the things to know about Reaper is that it works as a left to right timeline. So if you press play, it could be with the space bar of your computer or with this button play here. You can see that it's reading from left to right. So I'm just going to do this. Voila. The audio bar is reading from left to right. So it means that anything that you are going to put in that space here, anything that you are going to put in that space here and that the play bar will hit will be played out loud through your built-in output or headphones. So your built-in output is either your headphones or the speakers of your computer. So now we should be ready to go and start editing our podcast with the audio files that I've asked everybody to download. I'm just going to allow some times now to answer some questions and to see if any of you have problems to set up, to follow the settings instruction that I've just showed you. So no questions, great. Perfect. So now we're going to start editing our podcast. So first we are going to import our audio inside Reaper. So to do this, of course, there is some shorter ways to do it when you have a Mac, but since we are here working with people that could have a Windows or a Mac, we're going to see the manual ways to do that. Of course, you can always drag and drop stuff when you have a Mac, but we're going to see the manual way to do it so that everybody can do the same thing at home. So you go into Insert, you choose Media File, and then when you have a slow computer like mine, you need to wait. Then you choose the folder that I've asked everybody to download. I called it Rising Sign Festival on my computer. And then you select every single one of those audio files. You press open, you click on open, and it's going to ask you some question about how you want to insert this media. Insert multiple media items on separate tracks or sequentially on a single track. What you want is separate tracks. I will explain why later. So you click on separate tracks. And it's building the peaks. So we just need to wait for this to be over. I guess if you have a smarter computer, a faster computer, that's a lot quicker, but mine is very slow. So, so this is, you can, with this on the top right corner, you can zoom in or zoom out. So we need to zoom in a little bit so that we are seeing the first 8 minutes of this timeline, because some of the media file, some of the audio files are really short, but this one is really long. Anyway, so all of those tracks, a track is the horizontal bar that the audio sits in. So you have one track with the forest sound, one track with some music, one track with a very long audio file with just voice, and one track of just water. So once you've done this, I'm going to show you what you can do with a track. So tracks are useful to rename every single one of your audio items. So for example, we know here you have this track is called Forest, and it's Forest. If we listen to it, if we want to listen to it and only that, because of course, if we listen to it now, the audio bar is going to play everything that is going to be here. So all of this. So if we just want to listen to one of the tracks, we're just going to click on solo with the little S here. And you're going to be able to listen to Forest. So you click at the beginning and you click on play. So once you've done that, you know that this is Forest. So you can rename the track. It depends how you work. Maybe you want this to be called background noise. You just choose something that works for your workflow and like for how you'd like to build everything together. So here we have another track. So we're going to unpress solo here and press the solo here so we can listen to only this track. So you press play. And this is a little bit of music. So it's already called music, so we don't need to rename the track. Please feel free to rename whatever, whichever works for you, whichever way works for you. So here we have another track with voice. We're going to press solo so that we only listen to that and do the same thing.
Sausage-based podcast in the world. I'm really intrigued to hear it. That can't be done.
So like now we know that this is the voice. It's already called voice. And then we have a fourth track, called Water, Small Light, Flowing. I don't know why, but anyway, it doesn't matter. You just press solo and you listen to it as well. So as you can see, this is just water, atmospheric. This is just a background noise of like water flowing through a stream. So now that we know what our fourth track, we're going to try to build a mini podcast with different bits and bobs with those 4 items. So, alors, what's going to happen now is that one of the other things that I wanted to show you is that imagine if you're working with even more different audio files, something that can be useful to know is that you can change the color of this track here. So if you need like, if you need every single one of your track to have different colors, for example, if you need the 2 background noises to have a particular color and the voice to be another color, you just go on click right, and then you choose track color, and then you choose set track to random colors, and then you choose a color. Or you can choose like set tracks to one random color, or set tracks to default color, or set tracks to custom color. It's just like so that you'll know, just by looking at it without having even to read which track is which beat. And also it might be, for some people, it's useful to have color codes like this rather than just having the track's name. Voila. So this is something that you can do. So now what we're going to do is that I'm just going to show you, we're going to start editing the podcast. But first, I'm going to see if you have any question about what I just said. Still no questions. So perfect. So now we are going to see how to fade in and fade out little chunks of audio and how to cut out of this. So we're going to start by listening to the voice. So I solo the voice and I press play.
You're close. It's sausages. It's called Sausage Cast or something. And I think it's the only sausage-based podcast in the world. I'm really intrigued to hear it. That can't be done. So
let's say that we decide that our podcast is going to start when he says this very funny sentence. I think this is the first sausage-based podcast in the world. So what we are going to do is we're going to zoom in. I invite you to edit alongside me. We're going to zoom in just on the top, on the low right corner here. You press play. And then you try to choose to find with the cursor and your mouse the bit where it talks about the sausage-based podcast.
I think it's the only sausage-based podcast in the world.
So one really useful thing that you can do with Reaper is that now what you can do is you can choose to mark it, to put a little marker here. So to do it, you press. Alors, first of all, this is something that is very important to do when you're going to start doing that. I'm going to do it and you're going to be able to see, is that you select all of those media items. I'm going to do it one by one. You select one media item and you make sure that it starts at 0. So you click it, you stay pressed, and you drag it down to the left. So now that we've done that, we still at solo and we're still choosing where to start with the voice. So we've decided that this is going to be this part. I'm just going to do something to be sure that you're able to listen to what I'm doing. So you choose this part.
You're close.
And then you want to mark it to be sure that you can find it if you do anything else later. So you click, you select the part that you want to mark and you press M. So here you can see that there's a little 2 that has appeared, which means that there is another marker that shouldn't be here. Sorry, I'm just going to delete that, remove marker. So it's still 2, but anyway, there's a little marker here called 2. So you can call it, you can edit the marker and have a name for it. So you can decide that you want this marker to be called start of the voice, because this is where you want the voice to start. So once you've done that, all you need to do is cut this part, trim this part so that you can actually start editing your podcast. So you press click right, then you're going to see this little box appear. Then you choose split items at cursor down the box. So you click here and it's going to split your item. So now when you click and drag this little bit of audio, you can see that it's cut from the other part. I'm going to leave you some time so you can reproduce this at home. So once you've done this, once you have dragged, like cut this little the voice area, we can choose to have our podcast start with some music. Like imagine if this is a podcast, so we start talking about his sausages podcast, but it would be better if you start with some music, like a little jingle. So we're gonna start looking at the music track. So you can unsolo this. You can even mute it if you want, because the little M above every single one of those tracks is to mute them. So if you want to listen to everything except the voice, you can just mute the voice. So what we're going to do here is that we just want to listen to the music. So we're going to use solo again. So we want the music. I'm just going to zoom in for the sake of this lesson. So we're going to listen to the music now. So the music is soloed. So the only thing that we are going to listen, once again, is the music. So you can press play. So we can choose a bit of this to be the intro of this podcast. So there is as you can see here, when you zoom in, there is a bit that is just silence. That's why there is no wave, just this. So what we're going to do is that we're going to delete this. So we're going to click right, and once again, choose split item at cursor. Then you can see that those two items have been, this item has been split in two. So you choose this part that you want to get rid of, and you click. You can also just press the delete touch on your keyboard, but you can also choose remove item. So this has been removed. So now what you need to do to be sure that you start at the very beginning, because here there's just silence on this track, is that you drag it down to the left. One of the other important things that I wanted to show you is that you can do this another way. So I'm just going to undo this, back. So it's undoing everything that I've done. Voila. So you can imagine if I want, there is this little function here in this toolbox that is called ripple editing. If you choose it, what's going to happen is that it's going to automatically drag back to the left if you delete something from a track. For example, if we do that again, so we choose this part, we press click right, we split item at cursor, we select the part that we're going to get rid of, we click right again, and we remove the item. As you can see, the track has automatically automatically went to the left. So now you don't need to do it yourself. So it can be very useful when you're editing and you need to be quick and you just want stuff to be like right on time and you don't want to like check if there is silence or not. So once we've done that, so we have a little intro. So it starts by this. So what we want to do is just listen to the music and the voice now to be sure that, because we are just like trying to like make something with those two tracks. So you press solo on music and you press solo on voice. And we're going to make sure that the music starts and then the voice starts. But this part, that is not the part that we choose because we've decided that it's going to start by...
Eat your clothes. Eat your clothes.
So we've decided that we're going to start by this. So this is useless. So this is useless. So you can get rid of it. So click left again. But you need to undo this ripple editing thing because we want this to stay here after the little intro. If you have any question about this part, don't worry. At the end of this little chapter, I will like allot time for a Q&A. So you you disable this, and then you click on this, you click right, you choose remove item, and this has been removed, but this has not moved. So it's an introduction. So the music is going to play. Let's just keep like maybe 5 seconds. So here you can see this is 4 seconds, maybe 5 seconds, and then up, you put it here. So after 5 seconds of music, the voice is gonna start, and your podcast is actually gonna start. So usually to take care of the listener here, what we do is that the music doesn't start like this, as abruptly. We start by having a fading and at the end a fade out, so that the music gradually comes up and gradually comes out. To do a fading and a fade out, what you need to do is go on the top left of the audio bit that you want to fade in. Click it, stay clicked, stay pressed, keep your mouse pressed, and then drag it down. And this little, I don't know if you can see, but this little part here, this little line, is the level of the music and how it's gonna like fade in and fade out. It's like it's basically a drawing of your fade. So now we're gonna listen to it. So you can keep drawing, it can be longer. It can even be like a 5-second fade so that you can actually hear it properly. So now we're gonna listen to what we've done. So to listen, because once again, we only wanna listen to the voice and the music. So you press solo voice and you press solo music. You put back the listening cursor on the top left, and then you press play.
Eat your clothes.
So as you can see, the problem here is that the voice starts speaking, but the music is very loud, even after the fading is gone. So to have the voice underneath the music, actually, we don't need the music here because it's just the intro. So sorry. So what we're going to do is that we're going to put the cursor here, and then we're just going to split the item at this point. We're going to press the item at this point. So, alors. So you're going to go on. So what you can do if you want to split, you have, of course, you can do click right and do this, or you can just use the S of your keyboard and it's going to split the item. So now, as I said, we have split the music track in two. so that when we're going to start reading this little podcast that we're doing, at first we're going to have this beautiful fading that is going to be like kind of a jingle. Then up, the voice is going to start speaking, and underneath will be silence. So underneath this, so underneath the voice, nothing needs to be there. So we might use the music beat later. So we're just going to put it a little bit far away so that this part is just our draft. We don't need to like take care of it. For now, we're just taking care of the first 2 minutes of this mini podcast. Anyway, it's not going to be longer than this. So you can put stuff that you don't want to use at the very end. So now, let's listen from the beginning again.
You're close.
So as you see, you've probably heard, it's a bit abrupt, the way that it changed from the music to the voice. So what you can do, even if you cut a music item, even if you have just cut an audio item, you can always, like, if you realize, oh, it's too abrupt, I shouldn't have cut that, you can, of course, go back here, just like for any software or anything on the computer, you can always do like return, undo with those little arrows. Or what you can do as well is click here, have this little thing that comes up, this little symbol, and drag it back, because you just want a little bit more of audio to be there so it's less abrupt. So once you've done that, so you click, so I'm just going to show you again. So you click and you drag it to the right so that you have a little more of sound. I'm going to show you. So now we're just going to listen to this little bit from here.
You're close.
So you can see there's a little bit more of the music underneath the voice. So now we want this music we want that as soon as the voice starts, this music to deep down so that we hear the voice more than the music and we understand what he's saying. So you're going to click right. So there are several options to do that. But I'm just going to show you this one for now. You're going to click right and do another fade so that as soon as he starts talking, up, the music is a little bit down and it's going down. So you have a fading and a fade out. And if you click and you move, you can see that like there's different ways that you can like design your fading and fade out. So it can be a quick fading, lots of music, and up as soon as you start speaking from here, the music intro like dips down. So now we're going to listen to this to see how it goes.
You're close.
Okay.
Sausages.
It's a bit better. It's not perfect, but it's just for the sake of this podcast. So, of course, according to your taste and how you want to do it, you can always make it longer and the fading is just following your thing, or smaller. But for now, we're just going to leave it like this because it's just for a mini podcast and we don't want to like go too much into details. So the voice is ready. So we have a little intro. He starts speaking. And of course, one of the things that is always useful is to have every single one of your audio files start by a fading. So here as well, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to go on the top left corner of this little audio item that is the voice and do a little fade so that the music here goes down as much as the music, as much as his voice here goes up. So we've done a fair bit. So now I'm going to check if you have any questions about this. So I think there's no question. So if you have questions, you can always ask them later. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to keep editing our podcast. So we have this intro. We have the beginning of the voice. Let's listen to what he's saying. Please don't really pay attention to the subject matter because it's just like voice to edit the podcast. So we're going to start playing here. Once the voice is... Actually, we're going to start from the beginning so you can hear what's happening. The only thing that we are listening to, once again, is the music beat and the voice beat. So you put the cursor at the beginning and you press play.
You're close. It's sausages. It's called Sausage Cast or something. And I think it's the only sausage-based podcast in the world. I'm really intrigued to hear it. That can't be that. I'm sure he does vegan sausages as well.
Okay, we're gonna stop here. Let's say that we want to have this little beginning of jokey voice and jokey subject at the beginning of a podcast, and we want to cut here. So you click here so that the cursor is like where you want to cut, and then you play again so that you know what's gonna happen after the thing that you want to select. So you play again.
I'm sure he does vegan sausages as well. You would, wouldn't you? We wouldn't alienate part of the audience who might like sausage, but not like me.
There's a Greg's tie in there. You've already got your funding model.
Yeah.
So you stop here. So what you're going to do is that what you want is that we want to cut this part and place a little bit of like, I don't know, forest sound. I know it doesn't make any sense, but imagine that it does. We want to put a little bit of like forest sound here after he talks about sausages, and then get back to his voice. So you click on the cursor here, as I showed you, and you click right, and then you choose split item at cursor, and then you can drag what's happening after to the right, so that you have a little more of space here to have some sound bits. So now we're going to look at the two other sound files that we have on this session, which is the water and the forest just above. So if you're editing and you kind of want like to have those two tracks closer to each other, because that's the two ones that you're going to care about now, what you can do is change the order of those tracks. So you can click here, stay pressed, and drag it underneath. So that now, and not like this, preferably. So that now the two background noises that we want to use are just next to each other. So now we have this intro, little bit of voice, and you want this to go down so that we're going to go to the background noise of a forest, and then you're going to go back to his voice. So, of course, because there's an audio file that is ending, what we're going to do is we're going to fade it out so that there is a nice, slow, and gradual, that is not a way of ending. I mean that like his voice is not just going to end abruptly. So as I showed you, you're going to go to the top right corner because this is the end, and you're going to design your fade out line. So that when we're going to listen, it's going to the sound is gradually going to stop. Sometimes you don't really hear it, but it's always good to have it, and it's always less abrupt for the ear. You can do a very long one like this, or you can just do one that just makes it a bit smoother. So once you've done that, you go to like, we're going to start caring about a third audio track, and it's going to be the background noises. So you press here. You unsolo those two tracks because we're not going to really listen to it now, and you just solo the background noises. Then you choose where you want to listen to. So we want to listen here because this is where there is silence, and it's quite convenient because it's just the same sound, so it doesn't matter where we choose. And you start listening. Great. So we're going to have a little bit of this, and then we're going to go back to his voice. So you choose here. So as I showed you, you press click. You click on the cursor. You click right. You choose split item at cursor. And now you choose split item at cursor. And now it's been cut. So now you can take the second half and drag it, or even get rid of it. So you click right again if you want to get rid of it, so you have less stuff around, and you click remove item. Then you take this part, that is the part that you kind of selected, and you drag it where there is a silence, so that it's going to be read when there is a silence. So what you want to do here is that you want to have like you need to be mindful about what's happening at every bit of this this time period. So you know that like now there is music, there is voice, and now there's voice, and underneath there is forest sound. So there's two options. Either you just decide to cut it again, like split. So you can, I'm just gonna like split up, and then you get rid of it, remove item. Or either you just decide, you undo all of this so I can show you. Or either you decide that like the forest voice starts, the forest sound starts when he's talking. So for this, you'll need to like start taking care of the volume of this audio beats compared to the volume of this one, because the voice is the leading thing of this podcast. So to do this, you're going to, of course, you can always do like fade in, fade out, but if it's for a longer period and if you want to have more control over it, you can click on, select the media item, click on your keyboard on the letter V. And here, what's underneath your track is the volume of this little bit of audio. So this is the volume. So you have the line of the volume. You can dip it down by clicking and dragging it down, or dipping it up. So what you can do is that the voice is starting here. So let's listen to what's happening. Let's press solo so you can hear just the two things. And let's click play.
Sausage-based podcast in the world. I'm really intrigued to hear it. That can't be done.
Then you stop it. You want the voice to be, the forest to be a bit down, a bit more lower. So you click on the volume that you've just made appear. You lower it down, and now you're listening again to see what's happening.
Sausage-based podcast in the world. I'm really intrigued to hear it. That can't be done.
So now you can see that the voice is lower. So now that you've done that, you have the forest voice, a little bit of forest. You have a little bit of voice, a little bit of forest, and then on the right, voice again. So you're gonna bring down this voice now, here, closer, and so that you have voice, silence, and voice again. So let's listen from the beginning to see how it sounds. And then, of course, as I said, at the beginning of the voice that is coming back, you fade it in. So you drag it and you press the top left corner and you drag it down. So let's listen to this mini bit of editing that we've done since the very beginning. So now what we've managed to do is a little intro, voice, a little background noise that is, and then a little bit of silence with this background noise still underneath. The background noise has been lowered so you can hear the voice, and then the voice again.
You're close. It's sausages. He has sausage.
Sorry, my bad. So basically, one of the common mistakes that what's happening here is that we're hearing a sound that is not supposed to be here. We're hearing the water that we haven't used. So what you can do is mute it, because all the rest we want to listen to. So let's listen again from the beginning. You put back the beginning and you press play.
You're close. It's sausages. It's called Sausage Cast or something. And I think it's the only sausage-based podcast in the world. I'm really intrigued to hear it. That can't be done. I'm sure he does vegan sausages as well. You would, wouldn't you? We wouldn't want to alienate part of the audience who might like sausage, but not like me.
There's a Greg's tie in there. You've already got your funding model.
Yeah. Fine. I apologize.
So this is the end of the bit that we've edited. So what we're going to do now is that you're going to zoom in and we're going to end our little editing bit, our little editing mini podcast. So you choose any type, you choose this part.
I apologize for the right commentary.
Just before it starts speaking again, you press click right, split item at cursor, and you delete the end up by clicking again, click right and remove item. Once you've done this, you check that like this we haven't used in the end, small water flowing. So you just remove the track. And then what you have is actually your podcast finished. Of course, because this is the end, what you're going to do is that you're going to fade it out. So once again, click right, fade it out. And then you have your little bit of audio edited. So now what we want to do is export it to an MP3 or a Wav format. So to do this, you're going to go into File, Render, and choose how you're going to do this. So here we want the entire session that we've done, the entire session, to be like converted to an MP3 format. So you choose Master Mix, and there's other ways to do it, etc. But for the sake of this lesson, we're just going to choose Master Mix and bounce the entire project, which is everything that we've done. Then you can check here that you're actually not doing mistakes by checking what's happening. So it starts at 0 seconds, so at the beginning, and it ends at 5 seconds, so probably towards the end. Yeah. So, and it says it's 5 seconds long. But you're gonna have, anyway, you're gonna have your, anyway, the entire project is probably less than 5 seconds, but all you need to do is Master Mix entire project and then start choosing where you're gonna do that. So here you can choose where you're gonna have it on your computer, of course. So it's classic, you choose browse, you choose a file and a place on your computer. For me, it's automatically putting it in user, sound my name, documents, Reaper media. So this is a file where Reaper sets up, like Reaper is going to save your project. And then here you can choose your file name. So you can choose Rise and Shine session. So once you've done this, you choose the sample rate. The best way to do it, like it's just about qualities, and I'm not going to go into the details of how sound is made, but the best way to do it is just to choose 44 100. If you want to know more about what is HTED and what is KBS, you can always go on like very detailed explanation on the internet. And then you choose the format, so MP3. So as you can see, there's also WAV and other formats, but let's do simple, MP3. Then for constant bitrate, it's also about the quality and the way it's going to save it and how and the level of quality that it's going to be used to save your audio file. So if you want to know details about this, you can also go on the internet and like do research about how sound is made, and how like audio editing software work. But has a rule of thumb, and just to show you this, you choose 320 kbs if it's under an hour. And if it's above an hour, I think it's better to choose 256 kbps. But you can always take all of this if you really want to know more about sound. So then once you've chosen all of this, so MP3 is the format, you've checked that where it's going to be saved, you check that everything is fine. Of course, you need to save in stereo, not in mono, because you want both sides of the sound to be here. I guess you know what is stereo and what is mono. And then once everything's fine, you choose render one file, and it's going to start creating your MP3 file with your project. So now you just need to wait. Great. So so that then you check where is your file in the Finder, and once you find it, you will be able to listen to the podcast that you've done. So I'm going to skip this part where I will be, well, so it's done because I thought my computer will be too slow, but actually you can see here that this is my podcast, Rise and Shine. And then if you have a faster computer than mine, you can of course listen to it. So it's actually working. Anyway, you can listen to your podcast. It's here, and you can find it on the Reaper media file that Reaper has created for you. So now I'm going to answer all of your questions. So this is the end of our mini podcast editing session. So now I'm happy to answer all of the questions until the end of the time. We have about 5 minutes left. Okay, so you don't have any questions, so that's great. Then I'm just going to wrap it. I'm just going to end the session, and I hope that it's been useful and that you've been able to learn a little bit more about Reaper. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.